Hello there, I am Tunde Awosanmi. I was born in Ilesha, in the present Osun state of Nigeria. It was in this same quiet, semi-urban, but intensely cultured town in which my upbringing was concentrated. I could proudly refer to myself as a proper Ilesha boy, not necessarily because I grew up to know that Ilesha is my hometown, but more importantly, because I had my primary, secondary, and A-level years, during which the foundation of what I am today was imparted onto me at Ilesha. I was born and raised by parents who were teachers. So, expectedly, I was supposed to have been brought up in a strict morally and bookish home with a highly demanding life standard. So it was. My primary school was the Government Teachers Training College Demonstration School, CAPA. We GTTC or CAPA pupils consider ourselves as the creme de la creme in Ilesha of those days, because the school was the most privileged of all primary schools, being a laboratory school to a teacher training college. In those days, most primary and secondary schools were owned by government and Christian missions, no privately owned. Therefore, my generation and the ones before mine can say confidently that we were products of all-inclusive and affordable public school education, as opposed to the private, exclusive educational system which is currently prevalent. At GTTC Demonstration School, you were not only in school to be taught the routine subjects, you were also in school to experience gardening, hygiene, and handwork. In fact, at the beginning of every term, pupils were expected to have submitted a handwork project, such as a woven basket and broom for boys, and tablecloth by way of atmakasa for girls. Every Monday morning, every pupil's fingernails and teeth were routinely examined by the teachers, while any pupil found not to have had his or her bath was sent back home or taken to the nearby Agunrodo stream to be bathed with soda soap by a bigger senior pupil under the watchful eyes of a teacher. If any pupil was caught to have stolen another's money or pencil or pen, such lack of home training child was called out and flogged in the full view of the entire school while forcefully dancing to a melody of satiric instructional songs by a mass choir of the whole school in the presence of his or her father or mother. Samples of the songs are as follow. Falilatu, gberan meje, Falilatu, gberan mejo, Falilatu, and Kíni wọ́n fò lè ṣe láyé tí mo wá, kíni wọ́n fò lè ṣe láyé tí mo wá, láyé tí mo wá kàkà kí n jalè máa kúkú ṣẹrú, kíni wọ́n fò lè ṣe láyé tí mo wá. Bad-behaved children were deliberately reported to the teachers by the parents for due punishment and monitoring. In my days, parents begged teachers to please flog their children to make them grow up into better and responsible adults and not louts, tramps, and criminals. No parent negotiated punishment with any badly behaved child. As a child of a teacher, my family could be considered a middle-class family, but I was in school with children of the Ilesha elites and millionaires of those days, such as the Ajanakus, the Omoles, the Aokos, the Dixons, the Faro race, the Aleges, the Ayekos, the Ayenis, and so on. I schooled with the Agunlejikas, whose father was the paramount ruler of Ijeshaland. The elitist potential of my primary school was such that right in the early 1970s, we had a couple of children who were already using glasses to aid their sights. And some of us felt that they were using glasses because they were the children of the rich. Upon our investigation, we later discovered that it was due to some pain in the eye. Our child innocence also felt that we should be wearing glasses. And what did we do to get to this enviable glasses wearing status? We cultivated the habit of going to stare at the sparkling fire at the welder's workshop so as to have pain in our eyes and be qualified to get reading glasses. That was a healthy envy typical of the innocence of a child. I was both fortunate and unfortunate to have attended both primary and secondary school where my father taught as a teacher. In primary school, my father, Mr. J.S. Awosanmi, alias Awo Champion, as he was referred to by his friends, was both the school sports master as well as the cane master. And may I also say that he was also the school drama teacher. Offending pupils were mounted on the backs of the bigger boys for pankere flogging, while the bigger boys were made to lay on the desk and held by 4 or 6 others for effective administration of Mr. Awosanmi's cane. I was unlucky because whenever I was involved in any form of collective transgression, while the others were given 3 or 6 or 12 strokes of the cane, according to the severity of the offense, my father made sure that mine was doubled from 6 to 12 to 24. That was in school. The punishment would naturally continue at home because I owed him and the family an explanation why I had to disgrace my father in school by involving myself in any form of misbehavior in a school where my father was a teacher. When I resumed secondary school at Methodist High School, Ilesha, I thought I was free. But when Mr. G.S. Awosanmi was introduced one day as an NCE teaching practice student, I knew I was in trouble. I lived in the phobia of my father's uncompromising disciplinary standards for years, even in spite of the occasional boys' escapades and toughness which I was getting involved in at the time. Let me share a personal experience here regarding this. When I first finished secondary school, I flunked English language in that memorable WAEC result. In those days, you cannot collect your result by yourself. Your parents do. On that fateful day, when my WAEC result was collected and brought home, my father had called me to the family living room and handed over the piece of paper to me to read out the value attached to each of the subjects to him. I was dumbfounded when I got to English language and the value was F9. How come? Subjects like English language, literature in English and history were my favorites. Mr. J.S. Awosanmi then simply asked me, "Tunde, what is the past tense of go?" Everything flew out of my head in the ensuing shock. I did not remember the past tense of go until the third day. My father then announced his decision. "You are going back to Form 4. And that was it. No parent negotiated discipline with any of their children as I heard is done these days. I was soon to realize, upon my assumption of tertiary educational studentship at the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, where we were nurtured to cohabitate in an environment of ethnic, spiritual and social pluralism, that perhaps I may not have graduated if that delay did not occur, owing to the zeal I was developing then to move with the kind of group that could not really be of assistance to developing a productive lifestyle. A major and remarkable building was the Ilesha Town Hall, named Obokungbusi Town Hall, which shared fence with the King's Palace around Ojaoba. Almost adjacent to the town hall was the Ilesha Local Council Secretariat, within which was located a building that became the most relevant to my development in the whole of that axis. It was the Ilesha Public Library, which I visited maximally while in secondary school and HSC. I discovered many textbooks in this library to the extent that when I was in the university, I continued to visit this library due to its shelving of current books. And today, my love for visiting libraries have not diminished. Rather, my love to acquire books and build a private library for myself has become incurable. That library is no longer in operation now, so where have the public libraries gone? At Ilesha, as a school child, I witnessed the installation of the current Oba Obokun of Ijesha land, Oba Adekunle Aromola, around 40 years ago. I was also part of the attendance at traditional festivals such as Egungun and Ogun, though some of our Christian or Muslim parents must not know. But those were experiences that serve as sources of my interest in cultural and traditional matters. They serve as the bedrock of what I am today, known for as a scholar and aesthetician of culture, theatre director and teacher of drama. I cannot reflect on my good old days without mentioning the visit of Chief Obafemi Awolowo to Methodist High School Ilesha on the occasion of the school's Silver Jubilee anniversary. That visit was highly inspirational for us then. In our days, not only were schools declared free from payment of school fees, we were supplied everything we needed as students. If this thorough and highly integrated vision of free education program could be made possible by a generation of leaders in this same country, one wonders why it is hard now, why it has now become a mirage and impossibility. I was fortunate to be in school when schools were for education and not for diseducation. And that was why I could easily opt to stay and lecture in Nigeria after I had earned my PhD, even when I was offered the opportunity on a platter of gold of relocating to Europe and America to further my career. The burden of the opportunities which Nigeria had accorded me was so heavy on me that my conscience did not permit me to decide otherwise. My consideration had been simple. Who pays back? How do I pay back? If Nigeria equipped me with all the knowledge structures needed for my education from primary school through secondary to HSC to the university, why should I take that knowledge abroad to train citizens of nations that did not contribute anything to that process of my empowerment? This decision is what has continued to keep me going as a university teacher today. It is that conviction that has informed my disposition to all the throng of the varieties of species of humanity across Nigeria. And it is the same conviction that has informed even my exhortation to the younger folks to get hold of the lyrics of our old national anthem, ponder on it, and allow it to aid the formation of a new disposition, a renewed attitude towards Nigeria as the only country that we have. Nigeria, we hail thee, our old and native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And so on. Sad as it may be today, all hope is not lost. The mutual and pleasant experiences of the good old days can be rejuvenated, where the demonstration of trust will encourage citizens to be part of a relationship or group with a collective determination and disposition to lean on each other. When trust is unbroken, we will voluntarily give what is required, not just by submitting our presence, but also by participating through our commitment, aptitude, efficiency, and sincere thoughts on how the relationship or group is functioning. We can change the narrative. Our leaders must embrace self-sacrificial leadership and surrender personal benefits to encourage followers' empathy. From us as individuals, all hands should be on deck to continue to inculcate those time-tested values in our children for a better society. Our collective challenge will now be to focus on how we can, instead of talking about the good old days, be projecting into a future that is greater than our past. Our children certainly deserve a brighter and better tomorrow, not the good old days. I therefore join my good friend, Sir Semoore Badejo, in this patriotic and collective drive towards a greater tomorrow. God bless us all.